Next, we'll call up our Councilmember Eric Ulrich.
I heard that Mike got beat up over SBS, and Officer Severino got beat up over the noise complaint, so I don't know that there's very much for me to say, because I'm just kidding. Retired now. Just kidding. And I know that it's getting on in the morning, so I promise not to speak for that long. I just want to talk about the budget that we just passed at the City Council. On June 26th, we adopted another on-time balanced budget. The good news is there are no property tax increases. There was lots of good stuff in the budget, 6-day library service across the city. It's a good thing. We're getting 1,300 more cops in the next class that's going to be going into the academy. That's a good thing. That was something that the council fought with the administration very hard on, and something that I think people on every side of the spectrum agree with. We desperately need more police officers in the city. We don't have enough, not only in our own precincts, but across the city. So that's something that we're very happy about. But there's some other things in the budget that we weren't particularly thrilled with, and I don't want to delve too much into them, but on some of the bills that have come up in relation to the budget around budget time, for instance, some of the police reform bills where they wanted to decriminalize a lot of low-level offenses like public consumption of alcohol, urinating in the street, jumping the turnstiles, things that are really quality of life related but have a greater impact, I think, in the community and people's ability to feel safe when they live in their communities. I think, I'm glad that was kicked down the road and that did not come up before the budget, because they were hoping to kind of group that in together when we had that vote at that time. A few other things going on in the council now. There's a bill that's getting a lot of attention to cap the number of licenses for Uber drivers. I don't know if anybody here has ever used Uber before. You've never used Uber?
I work for Melrose.
Okay, there we go. So I spoke at their luncheon. I was at the
Yes,
luncheon.
I know.
Thank you. So,
they're creating all the traffic you guys complain about. Now with the buses, they're hurting the buses. A lot of people, I'm sure you've seen the commercials now. You were saying it's taking away jobs. It's not taking away jobs. Right now, Uber is hurting the men and women. Women do drive yellow cabs too. They're hurting them. If you see a yellow cab on your street, your neighbor could be an owner of that cab. Not everyone, like the Uber commercial is saying, is a millionaire. You're singling out one individual. You got your average man and woman that drive a cab. A lot of the women that I know now that drive a cab, they have lost their husbands because they work 16 hours a day. There used to be a lot of places in the city where the taxi cab can pull up, maybe go to a restaurant, whatever, have maybe a half-hour lunch, go to the bathroom, take care of themselves. A lot of that was taken away from them. I don't know if it was by the TLC or something like that, but they're hurting. It's not only Melrose that's hurting, it's the employees that are hurting. We're feeling it, but I see it on a daily basis of the individuals that come and trying to make their loan payments. You've got college professors now that are not being able to make a living.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I can tell you this. Many times I call the cab because I usually take.
Yeah, your
And you
local
wanna know
business is
something?
hurting too.
Excuse me. And what they'll tell me is, we don't go into Queens. You have to go.
You can't pull a yellow cab.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but, I mean, this was something, just a topic that the council member was speaking on. Can I please just let him start again and just let him
I'm
finish?
not going anywhere, I promise. I will give
Yeah,
it my
I understand that that's an
as soon
issue.
as this is over. All right.
Thank you.
That's just one bill. There's another bill that's getting a lot of attention that the mayor is supporting, which would ban horse carriages in Central Park. Now, a lot of people, I think, have different opinions about this particular issue. I think that it's a tradition in New York City. It's a job creator. There are more than 100 carriage drivers that are union teamsters that rely on the earnings that they get from driving those carriages. They treat those horses very humanely. There have been a number of accidents in the city that have been very tragic. And any instances where an animal is being abused, I think that has been pursued aggressively. but for the most part, the horse carriages are a part of the city. And even though we're very far from Central Park, and some of us may have never even, been on a horse carriage, I do think that it creates a lot of tax revenue for the city. Tourists certainly come to New York City, it's something that they look forward to seeing. And again, those jobs are critical, and they are really, really important for the Teamsters that have those jobs. And I don't know that the bill that wants to phase out the horse carriages is going to replace those jobs with the prevailing wage job that the job they currently have provides. Yeah.
Just the one concern that I've had from the get-go, and I owned horses for many years, training them to the whole 9 yards. What happens to the horses? Does somebody have a farm they're going to turn it out and pasture in? Or do I wind up feeding it to my dog?
I think the compromise solution, which I supported, a lot of people in the council supported, the mayor didn't even want to entertain, was take the horse carriages off the streets and put them in Central Park. But there are a lot of very powerful people on the Central Park Conservancy, on the board, a lot of millionaires and billionaires who don't want to see anything done to Central Park, and they're very protective of Central Park. And in some cases, for the right reasons, but for this particular reason, I think the easy compromise, if you're afraid that horses are in the way of traffic, or that they're getting into accidents, or that they're in danger, or they're endangering other people that are outside of Central Park, on Central Park West, then take them off the streets and put them inside the park. Build a trail for people to go in the park. But there's plenty of space in there, but they don't want to do that. So if they're not going to do that, they just want to eliminate the jobs. And the only concession that the mayor seems to be willing to offer is giving them a green taxi medallion. You know, from working for the Melrose Credit Union, a green taxi medallion is only worth $5,000 to $6,000 now. The price of the yellow taxi medallion is plummeting right now because of all the other issues that are going on. So to say to somebody, I know you earn $100,000 or $150,000 a year. I know that this has been in your family for 50 or 60 years. I know that this is what you do and what you love to do, but we're going to basically eliminate the industry. I think that's a big mistake. I think there are more important things that we need to worry about in this city. There are so many other issues and things going on. The fact that we're worried about horse carriages in Central Park is really disturbing to me, with all the other things that are going on. Right now, there are a number of schools, for instance, that was on television last night, that have been identified by the state as being persistently failing. And the state is now in a position to come in and take those schools over. Basically, take over those schools. I think it's 49 or 39 schools that are failing, that have been failing. And given the relationship between the governor and the mayor right now, I don't know that we want to have a school system where we have the governor running some schools, the mayor having other schools. It really isn't consistent with the type of accountability that we fought so long to get when it comes to running the public school system. But again, there's so many other issues, there's so many other topics that we can talk about that are more important than things like horse carriages. But sometimes when I'm on the city council, the only things that they're talking about are banning plastic bags, or banning horse carriages, or talking about some of these other bills that come up. It really doesn't make any sense. I just want to mention very quickly, and then I'll take as many questions as you have. I mentioned the budget before. There's a lot of good stuff locally in the budget that we should note. The fall festival that we have every year at Forest Park, that I'm so glad the Block Association participated and was a part of helping us plan it. That is going to be taking place again this year. That's a very expensive event. It's about $15,000 that we fund through the Parks Department. But we've had it for 2 years, and it gets bigger and better, and it really is an inclusive community event. We invite everybody, public schools, Catholic schools, community groups, residents from all across Woodhaven, Richmond Hill, and Ozone Park. And last year we probably had well over 3,000 people. And this year the Block Association is going to play an important role in planning the event again. We'll have another meeting at Oak Ridge. We'll invite them to be a part of it. And we always get good ideas. This past year we had Mr. Met come down. We had the rock climbing wall, the NYPD. I wanted to thank Officer Severino. He was helpful in getting that for us. In addition to all the rides and the shows and the local karate schools and other people that got to really show what Woodhaven is all about. That's a great event, but that's in the budget. We got money for the Block Association, and we got another grant, as we do every year. That pays for your newsletters and your publications and the rental fees and the thing, the coffee and the cake and the things that you have. That's money that is your money. It's the taxpayers' money that I secured in the budget to get for the Block Association. Historical Association at Wendell does a great job with the cemetery cleanups and the History Club at St. Thomas School. There's so many wonderful activities, the Golden Ages, the senior centers, the after-school programs. There's lots of school technology coming to area schools here that was part of participatory budgeting. I'm happy to announce, and I know Mike Miller worked very hard on this too, and he's looking to partner up on me with this. The dog run in Woodhaven is going to be getting $175,000. That did not make the ballot. At the end of participatory budget, it came up just short, but we knew how important it was, and Mike Miller called me and said he was trying to get some money from Albany, so we had $175,000 that we got for the dog run, to renovate the dog run. I know that there might be some state money coming in there as well, so there really is a lot of good stuff in the budget for the people of Woodhaven, for this community. The graffiti program is continuing, the sanitation program is continuing. We need to work a lot on sanitation on Jamaica Avenue, but the third and fourth day in some cases of litter basket service on Jamaica Avenue, that is something that comes out of the budget that we passed. And not every place gets that. That's about $8,000 or $9,000 because we have to pay overtime for the sanitation men to service those baskets. So it makes a difference. It doesn't make it completely better, but if you didn't have it, things would be a lot worse, I can assure you that. So there's a lot of good stuff. Last year, we put money in the budget. I put $600,000. The borough president, Melinda Katz, put $250,000 to replace all the lighting on Jamaica Avenue. That is now in design phase. We're hoping is the key word, that by the fall, DOT will be able to come to the Block Association, also Richmond Hill Block Association, and the community board to give a presentation about what those lights might look like. But the brand new LED lighting is going to replace those very dull fixtures that we have along the avenue that were put in 1973, I want to say. So it's been a very long time. It's been so long that when they break, they don't even replace them. They just take out that big bulb and put a Cobra head on it. It's like a highway light. So if you notice on Jamaica Avenue, in some spots, they just plug the highway, the Cobra head, right on that green lantern. So, you know, the lighting is going to make a big difference. The graffiti program makes a big difference. The garbage, the sanitation money that we put in makes a big difference. We're really trying to invest in Jamaica Avenue to spruce it up, to attract more businesses, make people feel safe, and know that we're investing in their community. So, are there any questions about the budget? About any of the issues up in the council, anything locally? Yes, ma'am.
Just expanding on the garbage issue, where St. Anthony's Hospital used to be, there are new houses built there now.
Right.
There are also 2 bus stops on Woodhaven Boulevard that are covered in litter. In fact, that entire stretch there is, you know, people just come by and throw things. Is there anybody who believes that people will do there in the bus stops?
Yeah, here's the thing. I would put a receptacle there. I would ask sanitation to put a receptacle there on the one condition, that they put a solar-powered compactor garbage can there. It's the one with the solar panel on the top, and it actually crushes the garbage as it's put in. The reason why is because once you put a pail on a corner like that, you're going to invite a lot of illegal dumping. And I don't know how often sanitation is going to want to service that basket. So they may only service it 2 days a week, and then they might come to me and say, if you want us to service it for a third, it's going to cost you X. And rather than put what we call a big belly, one of those solar compactors there, that might be a good idea to work on with the Civic, maybe, because they are very expensive. Maybe if the Civic wanted to pay for some of it, we could put your name on it. The one thing I insisted when I took office was I would never put my name on any garbage pails. I ride all around the city and I see everybody's name on these garbage pails. And they said, do you want your name on it? I said, absolutely not. Why would you want your name on something that people put garbage into? It's like putting your name on a urinal, on a public urinal. That's the last thing that I'd want. But if you want your name on it, that's fine with me. But if people want to see that the Block Association was playing an active role and you wanted to team with me, maybe you pay for half, I pay for the other half. We identify a spot that really needs one, and I'm very happy to work with sanitation to do that. Hi, Ed.
Can we put anyone's name on it we choose?
It costs more.
So we're talking about trash, and we're talking about Jamaica Avenue, new trash bins, and we do have a few chronic areas that are being dumped on.
Right.
And there's been a survey going around. Someone's been going around and checking the times, and we're trying to nail it down to a specific, maybe 3 to 4 hours instead of the 8 we're making.
Right.
There is one chronic offender right on Jamaica Avenue, 8th Street. It's constantly. Who's doing it? I'm like, yeah,
Well,
it has to be someone close.
If you're telling me that, and if you tell me if it's in the morning or the evening.
Right, and that's what we're trying to, that's what we're gonna try and get to.
I will personally make sure that a sanitation enforcement agent sits in that little white unmarked car and gives out tickets and summonses the people that illegally dump there. In most cases, it's the same people that are doing it every day. It's a business owner that doesn't want to pay for cartering, because you're required to pay for private cartering, or someone that's living upstairs or down the block. It's people that have just moved into the neighborhood, and I've seen people that I know. The old lady that lived on my block for 100 years, she walks every day down to the corner with her bag and dumps it, and it drives me insane. And I said to her one day, Mary, why don't you just put it in front of your house? She goes, I don't want the garbage sticking up my alleyway and in front of my house. But, so my point is that there are a lot of people who are guilty of this, but there's some people who are like chronic offenders. There are contractors and construction companies who dump bags on every corner. In the middle of the night, they literally have a guy on the back of a flatbed and he's dumping 2 or 3 large black bags full of debris on every corner. Those are the people that we need to catch. Those are the people that need to be given summonses and given tickets, because those are the people that are ruining the quality of life. In addition to all the people that are using it for their household or commercial trash, it's really not there for that. But not everybody's as considerate as the people in this room. We're not doing it, but we know some of the people that are doing it. And we've tried with education. We printed flyers, if you remember, in Spanish and English, and we handed them out all over the community on the avenue and up and down the streets where it was the worst. We bought new garbage pails, we paid for an extra day of service, we gave out a few tickets. But whatever we're doing clearly isn't working. So we need to do more of it or do something differently, because after they service the baskets, it looks good for a day and a half, but on the second and third day, it looks like a nightmare again. It's not the case on every corner, but it is the case on a lot of them. I was on Jamaica Avenue on Friday night before calling into Ed's radio show, and the place was spotless because they had just cleaned it. I came back the next day and was driving down, and when I got to by the time I got to the hallmark, I was just completely disgusted because the garbage on every corner was just horrendous. And I said, how did this happen in 24 hours? So we have to identify those locations where it's happening the worst and crack down on that. Unfortunately, I can't pay for another day. We can't pay for a 5th day of service, because it's a lot of money, number one, and it really is unfair to other parts of my district that don't even have that extra day of service. And it is your money. It's the taxpayers' money, and I'm trying to spend it as wisely as I can. And we do spend it on extra garbage pickups, on graffiti cleanups, on community groups, and on other things. But to keep cleaning up after people who are just doing it every day, day in and day out, it's not fair to you, it's not fair to the rest of the community or to the district as a whole. Alex?
How about, instead of the sanitation department giving tickets to the block association in the middle of the night when we're dumped on, that they spend their time and resources actually carrying out the enforcement that you're suggesting?
I mean, you're not getting an argument from me there. I couldn't agree with you more.
So, how can we make this happen?
Well, what we're putting together, Greg in my office is here, is actually scheduling a meeting. I've already spoken to Maria Termini. She's the Assistant Commissioner of Sanitation. She actually grew up in Woodhaven. Her mother still lives right off Jamaica Avenue. She's been a phenomenal help to us. We're arranging for a meeting between the Block Association, myself, Mike Miller's office.
There was one, but then it had to be
rescheduled. We are going to have a meeting about how enforcement is carried out, and specifically with the district supervisor and the enforcement agent who actually patrols this area. So we are going to have a face-to-face private meeting with that individual to talk about, number one, the ticket that you guys got that you should have never received.
There's 6 of them.
6 of them. The type of enforcement, when enforcement takes place, how many tickets they're giving out, who they're giving them to, and what other proactive steps they are taking. Sanitation used to send somebody out along business improvement districts to literally go store to store and inspect if the merchant had a decal on his or her front door and window to make sure that they were paying for private cartering, and that decal wasn't a counterfeited one, because apparently they could tell it's like a hologram of some sort. They stopped doing that a few years ago, and I don't know why. I think that encouraged a lot of business owners to say, I'm not going to pay $600 a month to pay for private cartering. I'll just have my guy dump it in the corner. And how do I know? I see fluorescent light bulbs sticking out of the corner wastebasket. I know that didn't come from somebody's house. A lot of people don't have those type of light fixtures in their homes. Businesses do, but they're dumping that and other things in the corner. I'm not blaming just the businesses. There are people who are renting illegal apartments where the landlord is telling them, don't put the garbage out front. I don't want people to know that I have 3 apartments instead of 1. Dump it in the corner. So that's taking place. You have businesses that are are doing it. You have construction companies that are dumping in the middle of the night. What we've got to do is identify the absolute worst locations, the 2 or 3 or 4 absolute worst locations, and say from 4 to 8 p.m., this place is a haven for trash and debris, and this location is just getting dumped on, and this particular person is doing it. And if you have video, if you have license plates, if you have information, I'm not suggesting that you go out and you follow people back to their apartments or their stores, but give us that information, and then we can hold sanitation accountable and say, well, when we gave you what the guy looked like, when he was going out there, where he came from, what type of garbage he was putting, what corner, and you still didn't catch him when we've seen him 4 or 5 times, what's going on here? You know, we're able to hold the sanitation department more accountable. And again, in most cases, it's the same people. It's the chronic offenders. It's like the noise complaints that we get. It's the same 15 or 20 311 locations that they're responding to. And I feel bad for the people that live next door to those homes, because if you want to watch television, you got to learn how to read lips. You know, because it's
There's a closed captioning.
there's a closed caption. But it offends people in such an intrusive way that we have to do something about it. A few years ago, maybe we ought to do this again, when Ed was the president, we had teamed up with DEP enforcement, and they have an enforcement division that coincidentally at the time did not work weekends, but we got the head of enforcement for DEP to put a special shift on that Saturday, and we said, work with the commanding officer of the precinct and give us the top 10 locations in Woodhaven and Ozone Park where we get the most 311 complaints. And go there at 10 o'clock at night with a police officer and the DEP agent and put up the sound meter and record the decibel level. And when you get a ticket from DEP, it's not like getting a ticket from the NYPD. The DEP summonses are about $2,500, $3,000, sometimes $5,000. These are really high, ticket items here. So I think for those, and out of the 10, I think we got 6 of them. Because every weekend they were just having the same bombastic, parties. And they went with a cop, they didn't go with us, they went with a police officer to the top 10 chronic locations that people call in 311 and reporting, and they issued summonses to those people. And I'd like to say that those people aren't calling anymore, because I don't think that the landlord or the tenant wants to get another $3,000 ticket that you cannot get dismissed. ECB violations, as we know, in the Block Association, are very hard to get rid of. They're not like NYPD tickets that, you put, I had a red hat, not a blue hat, and we can try to get out of it. Yeah.
That was so successful, what happened? It's 60%, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we should be doing more of it. We could do it again this summer. Here's the problem though. A lot of people come to this meeting and complain, but they don't call 311. A lot of people go on Facebook and they blow up my Facebook page at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm happy to get those complaints. And they say, I called the 102 precinct, I called, and then I go to the precinct the next day, and there's no complaint on file, on 311 or at the precinct. So I think people think that by using social media that that's enough. No, that helps, but that really is not the first step you should be taking. You have to call 311. I'm a councilman. I call 311 from my car. I do it so that when I get to my office and I call DOT or Sanitation or DEP, I can say, I'll forward you the 311 complaint number. I do it, by the way, also so that if the cop goes to somebody's house and they smash a beer bottle over his head and he goes to the hospital, the lawyer doesn't ask, well, why was that cop there when nobody made a complaint on file? I do it to protect myself, I do it to protect the police and the city agencies, and I also do it to hold myself and everyone involved accountable. But not everybody likes to call 311 because they don't want to wait on hold for 5 or 10 minutes. They feel it doesn't work. There's an app now that you can do it online for certain complaints, for street conditions and noise complaints. There's a night noise survey that we have now that has been very helpful. So there's a lot of mechanisms for people to complain. I encourage you, in addition to calling 311 and calling Mike Miller's 24 hours number and sending me a message on Facebook or Twitter, but that you have to call 311. You absolutely have to call. That's the only way we can hold the agencies and the other folks accountable. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question. With that ECB
Violation, yeah.
is that issued against the home where the noise is coming from, or is it making noise out on the street? Is that issue?
If they can identify who is playing music, and in most cases when they're showing up with the cops, they can, they give those tickets to the people who are committing the crime, or committing the offense. If they can't, they just put on a homeowner. And then the landlord gets to go to the tenant and says, I want you out of here for 6 months. I'm tired of getting calls from the neighbors. Now I got a $2,000 fine. I'm taking you to housing court. And I bet in some cases that's what happened. Some people were just like ejected immediately because they didn't want, people don't want to pay. Landlords don't want to pay. Absentee landlords, you know, are part of the problem too. They grew up in this neighborhood. Their mother and father passed away. They inherited the house. They moved to Long Island. They're living in Smithtown. They're collecting 15 rents from the house that they used to live in here, and then we have to get stuck with the consequences. That's not fair. It's not right. And if that's the only way we can hold them accountable, you are responsible for the person who occupies your house or your apartment, and we need to hold landlords accountable too.
I'm sorry, this is a quick question, because actually, that was, what type of violations may be imposed on homeowners, as well as where are the resources for the zoning laws that state the maximum amount of people that are allowed to live in a home, as an example, for these homes that are renting illegally and have, excessive amount of people living in the house. How can the landlords in the property?
Well, if you believe that there is an illegal dwelling, you know, on your block, for instance, or in the house next to you, you can call 311. The building department will send an inspector. They'll send them 3 times. If they refuse to entry or nobody answers the door, it's 3 times. On the 3rd time, they can get a court order. That's what I'm getting. So now, unfortunately, the backlog is so long. There are thousands of court orders, you know, in the wings for the building department to get into, that they now prioritize them based upon what they think the fire hazard might be and what type of complaint that it is. But if you have a particular location, let me know. You can, in addition to calling 311, call my office or the Assemblyman's office or the Block Association and give us that address, and we will follow up with the agency and say, hey, this person's been calling for a year. You know, there might be children in that apartment. We saw the fire in Woodhaven where 7 homes burned to the ground. There was 6 or 9 summonses issued to 2 of those properties because when the fire department went in there with the hoses, they found bunk beds in the basement and in other parts of the home. People could have died. We're thankful that nobody passed away, but there were children living in those homes. It's not their fault that they happen to live in a legal apartment, but it's very dangerous. So it's not that we're nitpicking or that we're going after people, neighbors that we don't like. It's that this is not safe. It's a burden on the infrastructure. We have overcrowded classrooms. We have no parking on the streets. We have so many other issues that are caused by the fact that we have people occupying illegal apartments and illegal dwellings that, you know, we need to be a little bit more vigilant about it, and we will stay on top of the buildings department, you know, the best that we can. So, yeah.
I have a question about recycling. With all the new recycler rules, and I'm all for the environment, it's fine, but it's very difficult to throw stuff out. We're grateful that Mike Miller and Joe Adabo has these trash days for us 2 days a week here. I mean, two days a
2
year.
days a week.
That would be 2 days a year. But now, like with the electronic stuff,
They're just dumping them on the streets.
you just can't do anything.
We have a Jewish cemetery in Ozone Park on Liberty Avenue, and there are more televisions and, you know, computers, and every week I'm driving by there and it's driving me. My grandmother lives around the corner on 84th Street, and I have to get it from her, but when I'm going there, I see it myself, and I think that is an unintended consequence of the law. I know we want to be environmentally friendly, but there was nothing in the law that exempted anybody, for instance, like a senior citizen. A senior citizen can't pick up a television and bring it to a drop-off location.
No.
There should have been some provision.
And not all of those stores take in, and we gotta get this. So I guess my question is maybe down the road, maybe there's some legislation we could try to introduce or get councilmen, council to help us with recycling with this new law. Because you could get, I mean, in Woodhaven, we're getting all these tickets for garbage that, you know, I don't want to put anything out in front because the quick to give us tickets here. So.
No, the electronics recycling is a big problem. It solved some problems, it created other problems. The drop-off locations are not even convenient, especially people like us. There's not one very close by. And there really wasn't a lot of thought put into the bill and the policy when they said, we want to take these out of the landfill. Well, that's great, you took them out of the landfill, now you put them on everybody's street corner, in front of people's homes and the streets. So that became a problem, and like you said, thank God Joe Adabo and Mike Miller have this recycling, but it's not enough. They were doing it before the law was in effect to help people be environmentally friendly. They weren't doing it because they knew that this law was going to be passed. So that's something, if you have ideas, by the way, sometimes we don't have all the ideas, the solutions. If you have the ideas,
one last question.
Yeah, Dory. Hi, Dory.
Hi, Eric. I did contact Sanitation,
and asked, is there any way possible that we could maybe, through with sanitation, do an electronics event in different areas, maybe monthly or whatever, so it doesn't sit there. I was also told that when the law was passed about the electronics, it was sanitation that kind of deemed it that they weren't picking up, like we do composting by me as well. Like, a lot of people can't stand that, wait till you get that one. But I believe sanitation is working on something where they might be able to do like more community events. Because we pay for the electronics to be part of it. It's not free. And it's not cheap anymore either. So if sanitation wants it this way, like I said to him, you know, my father's 91, he's not carrying a TV outside. And then it's trying to get your neighbor or your grandkids to come and do it. Not easy. So.
Also, people with disabilities, there was no provision in law for people who are handicapped or people who have disabilities to be exempt from this law. Why don't we make, you know, people who have disabilities that we know have disabilities, that have a parking tag or use some other form of identification, to call through one and have that picked up, you know, just have it tagged so that they can put it out in front. People with disabilities have a lot of obstacles and challenges in their life, and a law like this isn't making it any easier for them, in addition to people who are elderly and infirm that don't have the ability to bring a television or a computer or, you know, something else.
They get tickets from sanitation for not sweeping, and I said to sanitation.
Or shoveling snow, that's
There
another
really
problem.
should be something that seniors and people with disabilities should have to have in their window. I mean, that sanitation has a heart and says, all right, you know, there are seniors, maybe they couldn't get out at that time of day to sweep or whatever. So, you know, like, your city should push hard for this.
Well, I think it seems like
I'll give that to the mayor, I don't know if you're listening, but.
Revisited here to help, like you said, seniors and people with disabilities, and you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you're trying to do the right thing when you first implement it, but then there's something you might have missed, and it seems like it's something that was missed in the plan that can be revisited and hopefully.
Good intentions, bad consequences.
So, I think with that we'll move on, but I really want to
I'll
just
stick around if anybody else wants.
also just want to really quick thank you again for securing the funding for the Block Association. It's money that really
It's not my money, it's your money.
well, thank you for giving it.
Thank you.